Oh man, today I have something that I need to get off my chest. All right, so have you ever read the book? I think it's called The First 90 Days. I'm pretty sure if you're a manager, if you're a leader, you have read this book. Like, this was my Bible when I was coming up, right? I think it's by someone called Michael Watkins. You should read it. It's a good book. And I know that almost everyone has read this book. Now, listen, basically, the premise is when you first start a job, you have 90 days to observe, to learn, to ask questions. Like basically, your first 3 months is about trying to understand everything that's happening around you. And then you go into full action mode. You know, no one really expects you to lead in the first 90 days. I call cap because I believed it. I really, really did. I believed it. And whew, I had to learn some lessons. Now, the reality is very different. What do I mean by that? I remember one role in particular. Let me tell you what happened. One role in particular, I hadn't even started yet. My new position hadn't been announced. Can I tell you? I was still like doing the paperwork. And all of a sudden I noticed that people were looking me up from the new company, were looking me up on LinkedIn. So they had heard, obviously, that I was coming. I wasn't even in the building yet. And guess what? The assessment had already started. You see what I mean? 90 days? I think not. Before anything, before I had even walked through the door, people were checking me out on LinkedIn to see who is she? What's she done? What's her background? What can I learn about her from her social media profile? So the assessment had already started. And that's the thing. If you really make the assumption that you have 90 days, I'm here to tell you that you don't. Let me give you another story. I remember very early in one of my first C-suite roles, I had to meet with a stakeholder. I went to the meeting with that stakeholder and they said to me, your company is one of the most arrogant companies I've ever had to deal with. Again, this is my day one. Like, they were one of the first stakeholders I visited. And I had made a point of meeting this stakeholder immediately. And I was so taken aback by that statement. But I knew in that split second that I had to respond in a way that was going to determine the nature of our relationship for the rest of my time there. And honestly, I could have done what probably would come naturally to most people and say, no, we're not, this and that. What I said to them in that moment was, I'm here today in all humility. I want an opportunity to reset the relationship, and our clock starts from today. And I don't know what happened before I arrived, but I'm really committed to ensuring that we have a really constructive relationship going forward. And it was really great because the way that I responded in that split second truly set the tone for the relationship for the rest of my time at that company. And we had a really productive relationship. There are just no courtesy calls. There's no such thing as a courtesy call. I know we do them. I know we say, okay, we're going to have a courtesy call. No, in that room, in that moment, in that second, people are observing you. They're checking you out. They're trying to figure out who you are. Can they work with you? What kind of person are you? So you don't have any room for error in that split second. Let me give you another example. I've done quite a few turnarounds in my time, and I remember walking into this organization that was a turnaround as well. And oof, it was an unforgiving room, I have to tell you, because They had heard it all before. They had had other executives come in and talk to them about all the things that they were going to do or we were going to do to fix things. They were just tired of listening to what they thought were broken promises. And so I came into that room first week and I was sitting in a performance meeting. And again, remember 90 days. You listen and observe. And my first couple of days, what I noticed was that this organization, they were truly obsessed with the competition. Like you could ask them, why is it raining outside? Well, the competition, da 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 da. Why is this happening? Well, the competition, it didn't matter what you asked them, right? Like the conversation started with the competition. And on day two, I didn't know when I said basically, this name is banned. We're not going to talk about this company anymore in this room. We have our own work to do. We have our own strategy. And in that same week, one of the things that, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm going to share this story, but one of the things that happened that same week was that I noticed that people had this habit of coming late into meetings. And so that same week, I banned the name of the competitor in these rooms where we would discuss strategy or performance. But in that same week, I think after I came into the meeting, I think the meeting was supposed to start at 9 or 10. I can't remember now, but I locked the door. And everyone that came afterwards couldn't get into the meeting room. And the door stayed locked. I didn't make a speech. I wasn't like, I'm going to lock the door. I, I just locked the door. I was like, the meeting has started, lock the door. I don't want the meeting to be disrupted. We're going to move forward. And it wasn't about embarrassing anyone, but it was really about making the standard visible. Like, we do meetings on time here. There are no meetings starting late here. And we know who the competition is, but we don't obsess about the competition in a way that distracts us from our own strategy. And it was clear that I didn't have 90 days to show them what the new standard would be or to show them who I was. And I had to make sure that they understood it quickly. And I have to say, like, it spread like wildfire. They were like, oh, she's locking doors. Guess what? People were coming to meetings like early, 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early. And so it wasn't, again, like I said, trying to be mean or horrible. It was just setting the tone for the organization. And you can imagine what would have happened if I had waited 90 days to do that. And I've done that before. I remember very early on in one of my first jobs, I was all about being deliberate and thorough before making a decision and before doing anything. In my mind, this was the right thing to do. Don't rush into a decision. Don't rush to judgment. You have to observe. You have to listen. You have to learn, because how could you just jump to a decision without knowing? I almost lost my job this way because all of that trying to be thorough and careful, nobody knew what I was doing. So from their point of view, like I wasn't doing anything. And so that invisibility looked like inaction. And people just started to assume that I was not working. I had to change that really quickly. So I think now, before I even start a role, I listen. A couple of weeks before I officially begin, I sit in on meetings because, I mean, people don't know I'm sitting in a meeting, but it's just for me to listen. I want to get a sense of who's who's quiet, how do people behave in the room, who talks. And it's really interesting because the thing is, like, while people are looking me up on LinkedIn, I'm also looking people up on LinkedIn, right? It goes both ways. I want to know who's the team, who's this person, how long have they been with the company, what's their reputation, what's their background. Same way you're doing to me, right? I'm assessing them in the same way that you're assessing me. So it goes both ways. And it's the reason why, and I learned this from a colleague of mine, that I started to rethink my approach to onboarding, which is when someone joins the team, I do something similar in reverse, which is, let's say their start date is May 1st. They don't walk into the office on May 1st. They spend the first couple of weeks out in the field, right? So they're going to visit the regions, they're meeting our salespeople, they're meeting our distributors, they're meeting stakeholders, they're getting to know the business, because it's really important that when they first walk into the room, that they're coming not with assumptions, not with ideas, but with facts, not opinions, information. So the assessment really works both ways. And so coming back to what I was saying, right? When you read the book, 90 Days, you have the assumption that you have 90 days and that during this period, it's almost a grace period. But the fact of the matter is that during this period, people are trying to figure out who you are, and you're trying to figure out who they are. And while you're assessing the organization, they're assessing you. As you're trying to understand your stakeholders, they're assessing you. Nobody has 90 days. Nobody. The assessment starts way, way, way before that. And that's important to know. So I'll leave on this note. I think 90 Days is a really great book. Helps you organize your thoughts, your approach, but just keep in mind that nobody has 90 days. Your assessment starts even before you walk through the door. Thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for listening to the Don't Let the Smile Fool You podcast. I hope you found it really, really interesting, but more importantly, I hope you're still smiling. See you soon.